So we have talked about 4 different types of factorings. We have GCF, we have grouping, we have difference of 2 squares, and we have just talked about the trinomial type. And the reason we're learning factoring, the factoring techniques, is because we can use this technique to solve equations. There are also other applications, but that's one of the applications here. So we are going to, since we already learned how to factor trinomial, so let's see how we use this factoring technique to solve these 2 equations here. So again, and these problems are different from what we did previously. The problems we did previously, they don't have an equal sign. We are just given, say, we're only given this. There's no equal 0 or equals 21. And so we just break it down and we get the answer. For example, like this. Here we're given this, we break down, we get x minus 2 times x minus 3, and that's the answer. Or here we got x plus 3 times x minus 8, that's the answer. But for equations, we cannot stop there. We have to solve for y. So when we solve equations, we always get y by itself, and which means y equals something. So let's look at the first example. Again, what we have been using is we want to turn the equation into a format. Something times something on one side. So it's multiplication on one side and 0 on the other side. And after that, we can set each parentheses equal to 0, each factor, each box, whatever you want to say. So now let's look at this. One side is 0, which I do have. But the other side, I need a multiplication, which I don't have. So I have a minus and a plus there. So that's what I need to do. How do we turn minuses, pluses into multiplication? And that is exactly what we have been studying, factoring. And you're going to use one of those 4 techniques. So in this case, apparently, it's trinomial because we have 1, 2, 3. And the other thing is I kind of quickly checked if they have anything common. Y squared, negative 121y, 90, they don't really have anything common. So it cannot be GCF. Of course, it cannot be grouping, cannot be difference 2 squares, because grouping, you need 4 terms. Difference 2 square, you need 3 terms. And we have exactly, I'm sorry, difference 2 square, you need 2 terms, and trinomial, we need 3 terms. So this is a good tip. If you want to know which type it is, you want to determine quickly, you can count the number of terms. GCF is the only one that can have any number of terms. Usually 2 or 3 or 4. They all possibly could have a GCF. Okay, so now we decided we're gonna use the trinomial. So the right hand side we don't have to do anything, but the left hand side is the one we want to work on, which is the factoring. So we're gonna use factoring to break that down. So the factoring process, I'm gonna do it on my scratch paper. And so I draw a 2 by 2 box, and then we put the first column, break down y squared, that is y times y. The second column, I break down 90. Now, to break down 90, there are different ways. So, of course, you can do 1 times 90, 2 times 45, 3 times 30, and 4 times 15, and 5 times oh wait, sorry, it's 4 times 4 doesn't really go in there. Sorry, 4 doesn't go into 90. So 5 times 16, 5 times 18, or 6 times 15. I think that's all the breakdowns. And when you have a big number, 90, it might take a little bit of time. Okay, so we want to get 21, and you can see 6 and 15, if we add them, we can get 21, but we need a negative 21. So in order to get negative 21, we could put a minus sign on both numbers, because 2 negatives still make a positive 19. So that's what we're going to use, negative 15 and negative 19. And now let's make sure the cross products do add up to negative 21. And notice we have negative 15y and negative 6y. When we add them, it's exactly negative 21y that matches the y in the middle. So that tells us this factoring is correct. So let's write down our answer. When we write down the answer, make sure you write them down horizontally. So there's y minus 6 times y minus 15. Okay, so the factoring part did take us a little bit of time, but once you finish this, it's going to be very quick. So the main part is done. So we have y minus 6 times y minus 15. The left-hand side we broke down. Now, we have the format needed. So we got the 0. We got the multiplication between of 2. So all we need to do is set whatever in each box equal to 0. So y minus 6 is 0 or y minus 15 is equal to 0. To get y by itself in each equation, we add 6 here and we add 15 here. So now we end up with y equals 15 or y equals 6, two answers. Again, if you have time, plug the numbers back in there to replacing y, and so you can verify that both are correct answers. All right, now the second example. So again, have this format in your mind, which is something times something equals 0. So first of all, I need to make sure one side is 0. Well, neither side is 0 here. So that means I have to get rid of this 21. I can subtract 21. But whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do the same thing to the other side. 21 minus 21 is 0. I bring down the equal sign. The left-hand side, notice that none of these are like terms. Y squared, y, and no y's at all. So these are not like terms, so we just have to bring all of them down. And, okay, we got the 0 we need. We just need the multiplication. Again, the left-hand side doesn't have a multiplication format, something times something format. So we need to use factoring to turn this into something times something. And the right-hand side, we don't have to do anything, equals 0. So let's work on the factoring part down here. Again, to do the factoring, we draw a 2 by 2 box, break down y squared as y times y. Break down 21. So 21, we can do 1 times 21. 2 doesn't go in there. 3 times 7. That's it. And so I'm going to try 3 times 7. And again, since we are breaking down negative 21, not positive 21, so in order to generate this minus sign, I have to make sure one of them is negative, the other is positive. Let's say we don't know, so you just randomly pick. I'm going to actually intentionally pick the wrong answer, and I will show you how to modify it. So when I just randomly said you made 3 positive and 7 negative, that way positive times negative can give us the negative 21. Now let's cross multiply. In order to know whether this is correct, so we multiply them to get negative 7y, and then multiply the other two, positive 3y. When we combine them, because we have a larger number, 7, and the sign in front of it is minus, so we have negative 4y. And when we compare it to the one we need, positive 4y, we got the opposite. So that tells us if you have the opposite, all you have to do is to flip the signs. So let's change the plus to minus and minus to plus. That will also change correspondingly this to minus, this to plus. And when you add them, that's going to give us positive 4 now, because negative 3 plus 7 is positive 4. Negative 3 plus positive 7. So that gives us exactly the one we needed, plus 4y. So when we write down the answer, make sure we write down the answer horizontally, which is y minus 3 times y plus 7. Okay, when we got the format we need, so 0 on one side, multiplication on the other side, we set whatever in each box equal to 0. Now we get y by itself, reversing the operations we see. And now we have two answers, 3 or negative 7.